Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. It is amazing. Summer is on the horizon. It's Pride Month. And I think we can get started. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. This is episode 671. I am your host, Stevie V, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening.
Awesome. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, gorgeous. Hello, darling.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. It's so great. I finally have gotten over all my jet lag and made my way back into the US upon my African adventure. But a little bit later on this show, we are really excited to bring back our very special guest, Dr. Chris Bustamante, aka Injector Chris, to the show. And we've got so many questions for him in this time right now. I can't wait to have him back. So get your questions ready for our live audience. I see some people trickling in. Hello, hello, hello. We will get to many of your questions throughout this hour episode. Before we get into everything, though, I just wanted to direct many of you over to our Tags Patreon community. And right now, there is a brand new bonus episode that you can download. It is extra special, things you will not hear on the regular podcast, extra topics that made their way over to our special Tags Patreon community. And when you grab a tier, you are supporting us, a great way to celebrate Pride and to show your love and support for our show, Tags Podcast. And you can go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. Bonus episode dropped this morning, but you can grab a free tier as well. And with the free tier right now, I am documenting my whole adventure in Africa, which really was, you might hear this a lot, life-changing. It really was life-changing in many ways. And I give you insights into it that if you were to ever consider going on an African safari, this might be a good start. So check it out. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
just so you know, don't hold back for anybody. When your life has changed, you should talk about it.
Yeah, right. Life change. I mean, it's one of the many times we have life-changing moments in our life, and this was one of them. And it's the second time that I've been fortunate to go on an African safari to Africa. I just love it there so much. And Kodi, I'm trying to get Diego down the road to go.
I'm going. We are going together.
I want you to be a part of that as well.
In the computer.
Yeah. So, and you know, these trips take time, they take planning, they take money, they take all that stuff. So you were talking a few years down the road here, but put it on your radar because I want you as well to experience it. I know you would just love it so much. It's just one of those things. Plus, you know, not for nothing, you get to experience things in Cape Town. Nelson Mandela, where he all of the thing where he wrote his book, where the jail cells where he spent his time. You learn about apartheid more by going to the museum in Johannesburg. I could go on, and you just learn a lot about history going to Africa. Okay. So yeah, oh my gosh, so much to get into. And I already see some people showing up. Hello, Diego. Hello, George. Hi, James. Doug. James Hart. Hello, hello, hello. Keep them coming through. We will shout out to you. We mentioned it is Pride Month, and we wanted to start off on a positive, and I couldn't think of a better way than Air Canada. You know, Canada, the administration may have put a wrench in our friendship with our dear neighbor, Canada, but this had to warm your heart and soul when Air Canada marked Pride Month with a special flight, and it was all LGBTQ, which I think is so cool. Air Canada, the nation's national carrier, marked the occasion of Pride Month by organizing a special flight, and it featured crew members that were all a part of the community, including pilots, allies, and so forth. Quote, "It was a bit of a range of emotions this morning," said Captain Massage, who, "coming here and getting dressed for this flight, I do identify with the progress flag. There's something in there that represents me as well. So there's a bit of joy in having the opportunity to do this flight." First Officer Juan added in French, "This is a really special moment. It has to do with visibility, with the possibility of telling everyone that we truly feel welcome and accepted for who we are." The captain gave a huge welcome to all of those that were on that flight and said, lastly, "Shantae, you all stay," which I thought was just brilliant. And
that's
awesome. They shouted out to 2SL LGBTQIA plus flight, which I thought was really cool. I mean, they included every part of the acronym in there. Yeah. And
Two-Spirit.
It wasn't really clear exactly where they were going at all, but it did. I looked at some of the videos.
They did a lap around the airport. That's what. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I mean, they did fly somewhere, which was really cool. And I looked at some of the passengers getting on the flight, and they were of our persuasion. You could just tell my radar was on. And how fun would that have flight been? And how much do you love that Air Canada celebrated Pride Month? And where's our American flights doing anything remotely near?
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, because and I'll remind you before you respond that Virgin Atlantic did it several years ago in 2019 and did some kind of a similar flight. They have a commercial out that's really amazing that celebrates all of our uniqueness, our diversity, but you don't see anything from American, United. I love Delta, but you don't see anything from those people flights.
Well, Delta, let's not throw some dirt on.
I like Delta. I do like a Delta flight.
Delta has not decreased their DEI policies, and they won't. And they said they're going to stand by them.
And that's my flight. That's the one American airline that I really do like and I enjoy. But United and American, come on.
Anywho, I think that Air Canada is doing the right thing. They are out here showing the world that LGBTQ plus are completely capable. 2S LGBTQIA people are.
It's a mouthful.
I know, right? I haven't had a mouthful in such a long time.
Last night.
2 nights ago. Anyway, it just goes to show that we are. They're showing them that we are capable. We are here. They're showing their support for their people, and I just think it's amazing. So I would have had a kiki on that flight. I know all the passengers did. I know the crew did as well, because there's nothing that gets the flight crew going like having a fully activated crew and number of guests on the plane too. So I just am here for it. I wish I would have gotten an invite, but I would have flew around the airport.
So important at this time to see this kind of support when we've mentioned other companies really pulling back for their support of Pride Month, to see Air Canada, national airline to Canada, really stepping up and doing this. And in a time of social media, having it go viral, I think is really important. So kudos out to them. We support them, and we love that they did this. On the other end of the spectrum that we cannot support at well is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has ordered the U.S. Navy to rename the ship named for the late San Francisco supervisor and gay rights icon, Harvey Milk. Come on. And the decision comes during Pride Month, y'all, and it's met with huge criticism, because basically what happened is he's deciding to name several vessels that have been named, not just the one that's named after Harvey Milk, but this one really is a sword, I think, into our community, because first off, if anybody knows anything about Harvey Milk, he was a supervisor in San Francisco. He only served for a short period of time. He was an advocate for years and years and years in San Francisco for our community. He was murdered, sadly, in a huge bloodbath right before he could continue his work as a supervisor. But more importantly, related to this, is he was a veteran. He was a Navy, not even just served his duty. He was a Navy officer for the Korean War. So it's very related to having his name that has been instated for years and years and years. And for Hegseth to do this, to want to take it away, which is potentially supposed to happen in the next couple of weeks during Pride Month, is nothing short, in my mind, of homophobia. And that's the only way to determine why he wanted to take this away. Somebody that is a national icon in our world.
Yeah. And all it is just to dehumanize us. It's to make us feel and make us see that we are not equal and we will never be equal. And it's not, yes, it is homophobia for them to do this and to announce this in June during Pride Month, but they're doing it to so many other people. Harriet Tubman's going to come off. Che Guevara's going to come off. And there's somebody else.
Chavez is going to come off. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Now, first off, he should be having bigger problems to be worrying about than removing the names of some of these important figures in our history. This should not be, once again, the thing at the top of their list to be removing that. It's all to divide us more. He doesn't even have a background in Secretary of Defense at all, so he should be removed. First off, remove yourself first. But I just go back to the fact that Harvey Milk did serve his time in the Navy for the Korean War. He is very relevant to this. And so what does it suggest to you, Kodi, that what's next? I mean, we already know that no transgender people are allowed to serve for our country at all in the military. Now, are we going back to a time where gays are not allowed to serve in the military? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And
I mean, that's how it's looking. And we're going back to those times. They said they wanted to make America great again. I guess they're starting with this, amongst other things. But it's just heartbreaking. And there's a bug in here. Sorry.
Are you camping? I feel like you're
right.
I feel like I'm back in the bush in Africa.
I don't know what's going on. It's getting on my nerves, and you're going to probably see it a lot more because it's going to be drawn to this light. I won't slap it again.
I love it. A good reminder that you can always watch our Wednesday show, which gets repackaged you can listen to it the next day wherever you get your podcast, but you can watch it on our YouTube channel and go to youtube.com/TAGSPodcast. I see the bug. You can see it too.
It hates me.
Oh no, it's going to be the death of you on this episode. I can tell. Okay.
Oh my God, it's a mosquito. Okay.
I'm sorry, boo. Okay. Well, this shocked a lot of people, including my fiance and Diego, because Andrew Christian is saying goodbye to his infamous line, "Love in Every Stitch." It's a really good article they put on the Andrew Christian website. The designer who dressed the LGBTQ plus movement says goodbye after 25 years. He is going to take his bow after this fall when he does his final collection. And he's not ending everything that he's going to do. He's trying to move on, he says, in this time frame. But apparently it's his last collection that he's going to be doing. I personally don't own many Andrew Christian garb, but if you read his story, he grew up in Fresno, California. He I have to assume he was Latino because he said he was called certain words that I was called back in the day. I think he's Latino. And he created a huge corporation name for himself. And to see him ending it all after 25 years, do you have any speculations as to why he might be doing that? And will you miss it?
Well, I mean, I will miss it. I think it was an iconic brand. especially back in the 90s. I feel like they ran afoul of some controversies here currently, more in the later 2000s, I feel like. But I do think that it's an iconic brand, and it will always be an iconic brand. The reason I think that it's going under, or he's stopping the line, I should say, not going under. I think that it's because a lot of these brands are just suffering because of things like
tariffs.
Well, the tariffs, number one, there it is. But I think we're already suffering because of like the cheaper type of knockoff brands like Shein and things like that. And there's so much competition out there. I know that this is a very specific type of brand and it markets to gay people. So I always wonder how they maintain the momentum. So I don't know. I think it's something that it's sad, but I don't have any of his underwear either. So I don't know how upset I can be really.
Yeah, well, my fiance Diego brought it up, and I asked him, "Do you have like many pieces by maybe I think he's listening right now. Like, what do you have by Andrew Christian that you like?" And maybe he'll put it in the comment section. We can read it in a little bit, but he's very popular and has been popular throughout the years. And I remember driving up down Santa Monica Boulevard, and the boutique was always there, front and center. It was kind of like,
he had a brick and mortar.
Oh yeah, and it's
I didn't know.
still there. We'll see. It's surprising that. Well, I was thinking maybe that he would have handed it off to somebody, but he's always been the lead designer for his own brand, and maybe he doesn't want to see it go in a different direction, and it's just easier for him to just end after 25 years, and he's probably done well for himself, and he can now get creative and do other things as well. So, I mean, kudos to him for having 25 years of a brand that really addressed our community. That's pretty cool, I think, in many ways.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that you can, he kept himself in business for that long. And for that, we salute you. But let us know. We want to hear what you think. How many do you like the Andrew Christian brand? And what will you be sad to see it go? Well, lastly, before we get to our special guest is, we've been talking a lot about drag artists, about the safety of them, and performing in this time frame. Well, we all know that Pride Month has tons of drag performances. World Pride is coming up, and one person last year, Drag King Freddie Herkery, said they received a bomb threat, and they posted it on Facebook ahead of a gig that they were going to be performing at, and they decided to reach out for help to an organization called Committee. And Committee is spelled with a Q, Qommittee, Committee, a network of drag performers and allies who aim to help people in just these situations. Well, together, they have put together the Drag Defense Handbook that just came out late last year, produced with lawyers, and they got the help with a lot of famous drag queens around the world, all kinds of drag queens. And it is essentially a handbook that drag queens can share to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this? Because I think this came at a really good time. Instead of bowing out, Kodi, instead of pandering to incredible hate, and when drag queens put on that makeup and they put themselves out there, they were really putting themselves out there in this arena right now for hatred coming their way, and they're targets in many ways. But with a handbook that at least could help keep them safe, it's not a guarantee. What do you think about this?
No, I love that. And if you thought that a drag queen was going to cave in to any of the rhetoric that's been spouted now, then you don't know how much strength it takes to put on heels and a wig. Okay. So this is what I would expect from a drag queen. I think that they are strong enough to shoulder this weight. I think that this this handbook is going to save a lot of lives. It's going to put people in a space to where they can actually navigate this. And I think that the tips and tricks that are in there will a lot of them will apply to the community in general and at large. So I applaud this. I think that it's fantastic, and I can't wait to see what's going to come of it.
I love it. Well, I just invited our special guest to the main stage because it's time to welcome our special guest. I hope you got the invite if he is here. But while we're waiting for him to join the stage, here he is. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back.
How are you?
Hi, boo.
Good, good.
How are you both doing?
We are great. Happy
How are
Pride
you?
Month.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Yes, I know. I feel like it's already summer. I don't know. It happened so fast for me, but I'm excited to be joining you guys today. It's been a while.
It has been. And for those that maybe don't remember or listening to the show, Dr. Chris Bustamante is an aesthetic nurse practitioner, and we've been there, Lushful Aesthetics, and you do all kinds of treatments. We've been benefited from them. Thank you so much. But we want to get into all good things about you. But, before we get into what you guys offer, and it's always a good refresher course, there has been a difference between wanting to look good and perform your best with enhancements versus an ideal type of look that I know you guys talk about with Lushful Aesthetics. Where do you draw the line because often we talk about on this show of wanting to look your best, be your best, but how has it gone too far in your mind?
Yeah, I think that overall it's pretty subjective, right? Like it'll vary a bit from person to person. You have to kind of have that conversation within yourself of why you're doing certain procedures. When we practice aesthetic medicine as providers, we are always assessing the patient. When it sometimes is direct and other times it's just kind of observationally as you're kind of having the conversation about what it may be you're talking about, whether this person has realistic expectations, what work they've already had done prior, what are their goals, and kind of going off of that. And being able to see, like, is it in their patient's best interest to proceed with an aesthetic treatment? Because, when it's an elective treatment and it's all just about being able to make sure the patient's going to be safe, they have a reasonable expectation of what the outcome is going to be, and that ultimately that they can be made happy. Because, for people who aren't in the best of spirits or going through a hard time or maybe have a more advanced mental illness, they're not made happy from these treatments, right? There's always going to still be some disappointment or maybe just a generally like discontentment with whatever they may be receiving, and that's what we want to avoid treating, right? So this isn't heart surgery. This is not like a necessity to survive, and so we always want to make sure that you're working with generally happy people, that you're just able to make them feel more confident with themselves, and it's meant to make you feel better and shouldn't be something that you feel as deeming as necessary.
I love that. And, recently we've seen the likes of Kylie Jenner really give her recipe for her boobs. Many people were asking, and one person wrote out there, how do I get your perfect boobs? And Kylie Jenner actually put it up, the CCs, who her doctor was.
What?
And in your arena, other celebrities like Boomer Banks, who's huge, like one of your clients, who we all love, he's been on our live show before, is very open. You put videos up. What do you think the power is, and why do you think celebrities today are actually putting themselves out there and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, and how do you think that impacts the rest of us?
I think there's two aspects to it. I think that there's people who are genuinely honest and want to just break the stigma when it comes to aesthetic treatments, because the reality is that if you look at the statistics, I mean, most people are dabbling. It doesn't always mean people are having surgery, but people are dabbling with Botox, people are dabbling with filler in different capacities, right? And so the reality is now it is pretty mainstream. If you're in an urban area, you're probably going to encounter a friend or someone else that has done some of these treatments. So I think that when it's meant with good intentions, it's really just about decreasing the stigma, not feeling like you have to hide anything from people that are in your social circles, because it feels uncomfortable, right? Like the idea of having to sort of elephant in the room, like, yeah, you get Botox done and you feel like you can't talk about it amongst your friends. Right. Like it just kind of feels weird. But in the case of some celebrities, I do know that for some people, the new trend is to kind of mention the less stigmatized procedures and use it as sort of like a layer. Well, it's like, well, I do this, so they can kind of avoid talking about this.
Right.
A good example is like Lindsay Lohan, which is highly speculated with her recent look of having a facelift, brow lift, upper blepharoplasty, the works surgically.
The works.
And her not acknowledging that, but she's like, I could just get Botox done. Everyone gets Botox done. And it's like, so by sort of mentioning the less invasive procedure, she feels like she's kind of hiding behind what we know is more of a surgical intervention. Kind of like what people did like 5 years ago, where it's like, well, I'm just really on top of my monthly facials. And it's like,
you look 20 years younger, girl. Are you serious?
Exactly. So I think it's a matter of perspective on who you're talking about. But I do think that there is really good people out there who are just comfortable with being able to be open about certain things. But even when it comes to celebrities, though, I don't feel like anyone owes us that they need to say what they've had done. I just think probably best not to lie and say that you haven't had it done. You don't have to answer the question.
Yeah,
good.
Exactly.
I love it.
There it is. Then you can say that's personal to me. So
yeah, you can just say I think everyone's entitled to what they're doing, and that's that. Let's move on to the next question.
Fabulous. I love you. You're media trained and I adore it. Well, you brought up trends, and I'm very curious about what the trends are that you've seen pop up in the past few years as far as cosmetic surgery is considered, because I'm looking for my next surgery. I'm going to be coming to see you very soon. So tell me what's going on nowadays.
Well, in my world, a lot of the things that I focus on are sexual enhancement procedures, and penis filler and scrotum filler have been kind of just what I do on a daily basis now. And so I always kind of say when I talk to the press about penis filler is that it's really like the breast implants of the early 2000s, where everyone's doing it, but no one's talking about it yet. And now people are really kind of just starting to talk about it. I've had more people on my social willing to kind of just be open with their social platforms that they're having these procedures done, which I think is really empowering and cool, and allows people to kind of see that this is just another option that people can pursue if they want to boost their confidence. Boomer was really open about getting scrotum filler done, and I think that was really cool. We did a really fun collaboration over that. I always joked with him. I've known him for a long time. I think it's going on 7 years. And I think everyone's pretty familiar in our world with Boomer Banks and his massive penis. Yes. And I always joked with him. I was like, you have these average sized balls and this huge penis. I was like, we should balance them out. And he's like, yeah, babe, let's do that. And I was just like, okay.
Only you and your aesthetic eye would say something like that. I love it.
It's just a different level of comfort. Like I said, I've known him for so long. I see him all the time. And he was so down for it. And now he's like, babe, every party I go to, everyone just wants to feel my balls now. I was like, love that
there
for
you. Go. Yeah.
But no, I've also recently did a post with my friends Drew and Sean, and we talked to about them doing girth enhancement and scrotum filler together. They're a couple, and I do lots of couples come into the practice to get procedures done together, which I think is really nice. Feeling like you're kind of having fun with your significant other and feeling like it's like going to the gym together, right? But you're like, oh, let's go get little tweaks and enhancements together. So that's kind of what I've seen as a huge uptick in traffic in terms of what people are doing these days, what men are doing. And my practice when it comes to sexual enhancement procedures is very 50-50 straight and gay, which is always interesting to meet the straight guys because a lot of them are really cool, and I think that their guys are usually very supportive of their girlfriends and wives and partners haven't had like, you know, Botox and lip filler, and they're like, well, finally something for me. Like, I'm so excited about this. And I'm like, yeah, cool.
Well, that makes sense because I was really curious about how and why the straight guys have found out about injectables and cosmetic surgery. So that's fun to know.
Yeah.
When it comes to penis filler, we're talking more about girth versus length. And am I correct on that? That
you do get flaccid length, so like it won't change the erect length, but your flaccid length will actually increase, and sometimes it's quite a bit. So a lot of guys like do girth enhancement or penis filler for different reasons. I think a lot of people always speculate that it is to just make them bigger in the bedroom and for sexual purposes, which is actually I would only say is about half of the reasons why. A lot of men really want to enhance the size of their bulge or their appearance in the locker room and their flaccid state, because I mean, most 80% of men identify as being a grower and not a shower. And so with filler, you actually physically modulate that retraction. And so you're not really able to fully retract all the way. And so you kind of hang a lot more. You become a shower. And for a lot of guys, that feels very empowering, and they boost their confidence in, you know, whether they're at the beach or in the locker room, or even just like when you're walking around your partner before or after sex, right? You kind of don't feel like you always need to be sort of warmed up to feel empowered and big down there. So people get procedures done for very different reasons, and I think that it's all valid.
I think that's such an important point to bring up, that yes, you know, many of us are fine when it actually comes to the duty or the fun of sex, but just like at the naked beach I go to, you just want to feel confident in that. And that could lead to meeting somebody and that confidence, or just by yourself, feeling confident on your own. So you bring up such good points. And that would be something that I would, because like many, I'm a grower, not a shower, but I like that idea of just that how that could help. Just one follow-up question to that. How safe, I know we've asked you this before, but just for our audience that are newer, how safe are these procedures, and how long will they last?
Yeah, so penis filler is very, very safe when utilizing a cannula. So a cannula like looks like a needle. It looks, I guess in videos it's always scary, but it looks like a long needle, but it's actually it's blunt tip, so it's not sharp. So you kind of poke a little hole and then you slide on through with the cannula, and it's basically just below the surface of the skin. Nothing's going into the erectile tissue. The blunt tip of the cannula allows it to be safe because it's nearly impossible to kind of pierce through a vessel, because it kind of just bounces off of them because it's not sharp. So what I always tell people is that if you're seeing a licensed professional and they're using a cannula for penis filler, you're almost always going to have a safe encounter. What really comes down to who you're picking is, yes, credentials, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Let's say that's, rest assured, is someone who has the aesthetic eye, because that's actually the harder part. The safety aspect of it for penis filler is it's not a high risk area. But when it comes to the aesthetic aspect, you're going to really want someone who does this procedure day in and day out, and make sure that their portfolio of before and after photos really aligns with the aesthetic that you're looking for. I'm huge on portfolio, no matter what it comes to, whether it's facial injectables or sexual enhancement procedures. Like if you're going to go get surgery done, like you should always be requesting before and after photos and making sure that they align with what you're looking for. And I have a huge portfolio for this procedure because this is like what I do for a living. But if it didn't meet someone's expectations, and I think that that's super valid, and I'm like, well, then you shouldn't do it with me. So I think that that's really what you should be looking for. In terms of how long the results last, more or less like 2 to 3 years, slowly fades away. I'm very just like upfront and transparent about like what that means. And I kind of tell people like basically every quarter you will notice that everything's a bit smaller. Right, because like nothing just like, oh, it's like been 2 years, like just goes away. Like it's a progressive, slowly fading away.
Sure.
Most guys get it touched up about once a year, and the maintenance is typically about like half of what you did the first time. So if most guys start off with like 15 syringes for their penis, sounds like a lot because on the face you wouldn't really ever do that many, but very different area. And so let's say you do 15 syringes in a year, you'll probably do 7 or 8 just to maintain the same size.
Okay. Well, yeah, all this needle talk has got me a little bit on edge. I don't like needles. So for our listeners, how high is the pain threshold for something like this? Does it hurt at all? I don't know. I have a very low tolerance for pain, so I'm very curious.
It's actually painless. So
Oh.
I know that sounds like what? So if this is your penis, the nail bed being the head, this is the base. The only thing you'll feel that day is I'm going to give you a nerve block in your pubic area. So not even in your penis, in the pubic area, you'll get an injection of lidocaine. It'll be about 7 seconds of a quick little pinch and a burn, and then your penis actually goes numb. Kind of like going to the dentist where you get like a nerve block, same concept. You're numb for about like 2 hours. So after that injection, I will also cover you with numbing cream to block out the superficial nerves. And all in all, you numb for about like 10, 15 minutes. And then you feel nothing. The patient gets laughing gas also to relax and just kind of ease their anxiety. I put music on in the background, and the actual injection process takes me about 10 minutes. So this procedure is completely painless, super easy. I tell people all the time, if you've had Botox done, like this is easier than Botox.
Oh,
yeah.
And I've had Botox with you, and it was great. I didn't feel hardly a thing. So
yeah. This is even easier. Yeah, people are literally like, because obviously have patients that have done quite a few things with me. I'll always say the most painful thing that I do in my office still to date is lip filler. It's just, you can numb it, and like there's so many nerves in this area, and people still feel it. So yeah.
Well, one thing that's become so popular, BBL, Brazilian butt lift, it is from everything from Cardi B, of course, Kim Kardashian. On the female side, I'm curious to see, I know you offer it. How have you seen it in our gay males? Is it something that, we can all do squats. I do a ton of squats. Kodi has a perfect Puerto Rican booty, but not all of us are built with that.
So little.
How have you seen the trends change for men, gay men, and what can you say about it?
Yeah, I think that, everyone wants a nice, cute little perky butt. What I offer is a non-surgical approach to it. So I'm always super transparent. I never want someone to ever feel like they are signing up for something and not getting the results that they're looking for. So if someone is looking for a significant amount of volume and they have like donor fat available, so fat in like the flanks or abdomen, I'm always going to refer for a surgical BBL. They're going to get the best bang for their buck, literally, as long as they're medically fit and cleared for surgery. But if someone's already like very lean, has no minimal to, no really fat for donor fat, or if they're just looking for more of like a more toned, like rounded aesthetic that they're trying to build on, then that's where a non-surgical BBL comes into play. I use Radiesse. It's a calcium-based filler. That's a filler and also a biostimulator. It's actually also what I use for jawlines, but for the BBL, you basically mix it with a bunch of saline and you're able to distribute it along subdermally and also to the superficial fat. And it gives you volume, a modest amount of volume. The one advantage of a non-surgical BBL over the surgical BBL, besides like the recovery and the safety and blah, 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 is that there's actually also an improvement for tone and texture. And so a lot of my patients who get this procedure done, yes, there's the millennials who will get this done for more of like the volume enhancement and that little extra pop that they're not able to get at the gym, and they're already probably super fit and they just don't really have any donor fat. But also the more mature male who is in like late 40s, 50s, who might be more self-conscious about kind of like the aging buttocks, right? A lot of patients will come in and they'll kind of reference like Sex in the City, right? Or was it Samantha who referred to some guy having
old
man-ass?
When she had sex with with the older gentleman,
and it was
flat.
So
I'm not really familiar with the episode, but people mention it all the time to me. They're like, Chris, I have old man ass. And as we age, the butt starts to invert, right? It kind of creates this like triangle. This is amazing for that because Radiesse doesn't just create volume, but it also helps to actually tighten up skin and improve texture because it creates your own body's collagen and elastin to enhance that. And so I've done wonders for fixing old man ass. So
Oh,
that's really where I see like the benefit of a non-surgical BBL is improving contours, irregularities, while also still finessing with volume. So it's definitely multifaceted. It's a great option for people who are within sort of like their weight goals already, and they're looking for that a little extra pop. I think it's a fantastic procedure with like minimal downtime.
love that. Love that. I was very curious about undetectable filler and where do you put it? How can you put it in me? I haven't said that in a long time, but like what is undetectable filler? And yeah, just tell me all about it.
Yeah, I like to distinguish, I think, between like filler for the purposes of like visible augmentation and then filler that's more kind of like restorative, which kind of falls into the category of like what you're saying, undetectable filler. Because in my practice, I think I'm probably definitely much more known for like those distinguished augmentations where you see like the nice like razor sharp jawline and like
Yeah.
the chiseled cheek, which is not what you're talking about.
Okay.
This is really much more where if someone has a before and after, like you see that difference. That's very nice and clear cut. Now, what you don't really get to see a lot of my social is like people coming through for more of what you're talking about, because those are people who are more quiet about it, right? Like they don't really
Mm.
talk about it, and they're not really looking for an augmentation. They just want to feel and look refreshed, look less tired. And it's really just meticulously placing filler in certain areas. Usually it's a little bit in the mid face for people who are very thin. This is an area that you'll want to restore just to kind of, get that light bouncing off the cheek. Very superficial light placement of the nasolabial fold. Sometimes actually doing a little bit of lip filler. People sometimes think that lip filler is always augmentive. It really depends on what filler you use. Some of them are much thicker and more robust and will create that volume. Others are very, very thin and just really meant for hydration, because the aging lip is prone to those fine lines and wrinkles. And if you look at someone's lips when they were 30 versus when they're 50, they're smaller and they look more dehydrated, kind of like grape to raisin, right? And then also like very conservative jawline filler to just make sure that the face looks very separate from the neck. So it's putting a little bit of filler everywhere versus putting more focused on certain features where you're trying to really distinguish it out.
Okay.
That's what I think would be more addressing what you're mentioning.
Thank you.
I
Yes, I
love
needed that.
it. Oh my gosh, we could talk to you all day long. In this Pride season, are you seeing a lot of people come into your business right now for as the summer approaches, or what are some of the trends you're seeing right now?
So for Pride season, my number one procedure is always Whole Talks. Um, so Holtox, for those who don't
Of
know,
course.
is my trademarked name for anal Botox. I always say I did not invent anal Botox. I learned it from working for a proctologist. And so it is a fantastic procedure for people who feel like they have generalized anal tightness or have a history of anal fissures or hemorrhoids. It's fantastic for kind of relieving a little bit of that excess pressure. No, you don't lose functionality. All the functionality is preserved. You're not going to have any accidents. It just kind of makes things a little bit more comfortable for you, and less susceptible to injury. So as the kind of summer kicks off and Pride season comes to its fruition, a lot more people want to engage in more bottoming practices or play down there. And so Whole Talks really starts to kick up. I typically do about 3 Whole Talks procedures a day, on an average day. And then during Pride season, it can easily be like 5 or 6 a day.
I love
So
it.
you're responsible for all those beautiful buttholes I've been seeing.
Yes,
All those
exactly.
muscles that are very active.
Well, Chris, Dr. Chris Bustamante, we love you. We want you to come back every single time. You can go to lushfulaesthetics.com to find out more about the procedures that he offers in New York City. You can follow him at Injector Chris on Instagram. Any other things you want to tell us before you leave, or follow you in any other way?
I also opened up a satellite location in San Diego. So I'm
Saw
out
that.
there once a month now. So for anyone who is West Coast based or closer to the West Coast, it's a great place to come over and see us. We're in La Jolla, San Diego.
La
Very
Jolla.
convenient to, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Love it.
Very convenient to the airport too. So if you're flying in just from a closer area, it's very easy. But yeah, everyone have a really fun, safe Pride. And thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you
course.
so
Such a
much.
pleasure.
We will see you again soon, and we'll list all
Thank
this on our
you. Have a
show.
good night, everyone.
All right, you too.
Bye,
Bye.
babe.
Okay. Amazing, as
So much fun.
always. Love
Yeah.
him. Yes, I
Amazing.
know. So much stuff to consider too.
Right?
I know,
I
right?
need to go see him
I've done
really
my
quick.
procedures throughout the years, so yeah.
Yeah.
But well, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, moving on, we had to talk about there was an interesting article that I really wanted to talk to you about, Kodi, and it was entitled "Addicted to the Grid: Why We Can't Quit Grindr." And
Okay.
it really goes through the years of Grindr and why it's been the leading app for so long. Others have rivaled it, but for some reason, even though there's more than 14 million average monthly users, a lot of people complain about it because there's ads coming up left and right. But the CEO of Grindr says that the majority of their users are free. They use it for free.
Yes.
I'm curious, do you use it for free? And why do you think Grindr is in the guys continues to be like the leading cause of the leading app that we all go to?
Well, I think. Well, first of all, I pay for it because who needs all those ads? And I want to see more boys for my. I want to get more bang for my buck. All right.
Yeah.
So I pay $20, which is the mid tier price. I think you can go up to like 40 for the unlimited, which I think is
$40.
It's kind of crazy, honestly.
I mean, it's one of those things that you got to like weigh in how much if you're using it to find a potential partner, like which many people have found their mate on that way.
Yeah.
Maybe it is worth it. How much do you value the love of your life
and love?
If that's how you're going about it? If you're using it just for sex, $40 a month.
Yeah, it's a lot. But people will pay it, and I think that's what Grindr knows, and I feel like they are the leader in it because they were one of the first. I think they were the first, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
we could go back in time to other things like Manhunt and
but see, it wasn't mobile based.
They weren't mobile based, so there's that. So yeah.
It's just so convenient for you to go somewhere and open up an app.
You don't need your laptop and
and see all the gays in the area. So, and it's location based too, which I think is another factor in it. And I feel like it's probably the leader. Like Sniffies would have overtaken it if it was more safe for work. I feel like, because I feel like a lot of people still have some hangups when it comes to the cruising or the instant hookup type of a connection that you would get from Sniffies. But I think that with Grindr, a lot of that is alleviated, even though I feel like for me, I get a lot of hits for just hooking up and just wanting to meet up right now. So Grindr is like the go-to. It's the GOAT. So that's why they're doing so well.
And staying on this, I know you use Sniffies. We talk a lot about that. We had the chief marketing officer. We were just talking about them recently. You can also do things like, what about Scruff? Did we forget about Scruff? Because to me, that was always the competitor when I was the very few times, because I did like to try and get on there back in the day. And the Scruff was my go-to a little bit over Grindr. How is that for you, and how do you think that competes with Grindr?
So, funny enough, it's funny you bring this up because before I got into my relationship, maybe around 2019, close to that, in that area, I was on Scruff constantly, and that was where I would get the most boys. Those were the boys that I liked, the scruffy ones. And Grindr was kind of like to the side. After we broke up, I got on Scruff, and it was okay, but it was like a dead zone over there for me. So I had to. Grindr became my backup, and now my backup became my main bitch. And Grindr is now. I've completely deleted Scruff from my phone.
Wow. Well, you got to pick and choose because they've got their price model as well too, and
but it's a lot less than Grindr, and I thought I was going to do well over there, but that's not the case. It's for me personally. I haven't noticed a lot of traffic from there. but
Yeah.
Sniffies has filled that void for me quite completely. So thank you, Sniffies.
Yeah. And we were just talking about Sniffies the other day and how they have an app version right now, but it's currently not, you can't download it currently. Hopefully it'll come back. Those that have it already can still use it, but you can always go on the web-based platform on your own and still use it. I've used it in the past. I really like Sniffies, and that was kind of my go-to. So yeah, I think you just got to figure out what works best for you and stick with it. But Grindr, for better or for worse, for controversy or not, it still remains the leading one. I mean, there are references of it in mainstream media.
Oh yeah.
And I think that there's a reason why it continues to do well. Whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. So, yeah. Okay. Well, moving on to, we talked recently about a gay campground here that basically said that they were only going to allow cisgendered males, men that were born as cisgender males at birth, to come to their campgrounds this summer long, or it was an actual event. And they got a lot of controversy, including a lot of groups that had pulled out for their transphobic post. And they did it on Trans Awareness Day, which we talked a lot about it. You can revisit it. And it's one of our previous episodes where we dissect that. Well, recently, a Brighton in the UK, a Brighton sauna owner apologizes for excluding trans women from women-only sessions. And the owner takes full responsibility for it. She says, it was all me. I made a huge mistake. I deeply regret it. The Beach Box Sauna apologized, saying that hosting a cis-only event goes against everything that we believe in. She also goes on to say that they've gone through training for LGBTQ training and all that. And Liz Watson, the founder of the company, has issued a huge statement apologizing for it, much due to the criticism she received for excluding trans women. She says, "We got it wrong, and we are so incredibly sorry." The statement reads, I'm okay with this apology. I'm sure it came after a lot of hatred. She turned off her comments, Kodi, when she posted this apology. Maybe it came a little bit too late, but I think when you're a business and you start to exclude, as this American gay campground decided to exclude, and they did it on, it was almost like the Pete Hegseth thing, to do it during Pride Month. To do it on Trans Awareness Day was really a bad move. And
oh yeah,
I think when you're a business owner and you claim to be for everybody, you really have to think about these things. Have a board meeting, for crying out loud. Bring in the people of the community. If you're already a marginalized community, if you're a female-focused spa, if you are a gay campground, pull in the other gays, just do a round robin on what they think, because chances are you're going to save yourself a lot of drama in social media and hatreds towards you that people will cancel you. What do you say?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, a lot of people's vision of what oppression is enclosed within themselves. So I think that's probably what happened here. I do believe them when they said that she was sorry, and that maybe a lot of the criticisms that she was receiving allowed her to think about a lot more things and to recognize how she was oppressing another marginalized group. And that didn't sit well with her. So I believe her wholeheartedly. And I think it's something that came from her heart. And I forgive her personally, even though it's not my space to forgive her. So I hope the trans community forgives her as well.
Yeah, because we never really got an apology from, I don't think, maybe we did, from the campground.
I don't think so.
Yeah, in fact,
I think they doubled down.
Yeah, I feel like they did, but many people pulled out that were going to go spend. You had said in our meeting that there's another campground that came forth and received it and said, we'll host you guys. And
that's what happens. Then all of that business, because you want to be closed-minded, then all that business goes to somewhere else. So I don't get it.
Exactly. We love to give advice on the show, and tonight is no different than any other night. And this one comes from Reddit, and the title says it all. My best friend started dating someone, and I'm completely falling apart. How do I get over them? Basically, this person is 32, and they have been friends with this for 5 years. During COVID, during lockdown, they were also a friends with benefit, is the things you need to know. But for the past few years, he's been my primary emotional support, and I've been his. I've taken him out on, basically they've been together for so long. Well, the other person found somebody that they're really serious about now, and now this one is feeling that it's a huge breakup and they don't even know how to proceed. How would you advise this person?
Well, I don't know if this is you trying to tell me that you're in love with me, but you have Diego now, so
It would be the other way around because I mean,
he said you're single, bitch, not
I'm
me.
with somebody unhappy. So it would be the other way around where if I finally got with somebody and now yeah. But whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, bad
Whatever.
example.
No, I think that this person should. I honestly, if I was in this position, I would confess to them that I was in love with them. And I know that's probably bad advice, but it's something that I would do because, first of all, I would never in a million years be in love with somebody and not tell them that I was in love with them. My therapist says that I'm very emotionally aware. I'm very aware of myself, and that is something that I would admit as soon as I could feel it. So, because I wouldn't be able to hold it in. So I think that was their first trip up, because if you love somebody, you have to let them know. Then that's coming from my heart to everybody else out there in the world. So I would tell them to just, go with your heart, see where it leads you, hold space for the friendship. How would you advise
I
them?
would say that if it hasn't happened by now, that yes, you had your friends with benefit, they're a close friend. I say you need to allow your friend, you didn't step up enough to tell them that you're in love with them and it didn't happen. And I'm all about timing, that if it hasn't happened by now, that you need to honor your friend who's now met somebody that they're in love with, and you just need to like process it. If you need to see therapy or whatever, but you need to really, I mean, if you really have to be honest, then go to them, but tell them then I need to just take a step away from our friendship for a while, which
and
would
that
be
might have
sad,
to be what
but
they do.
yeah, but I think you didn't allow this or say that you were in love with them at a point in time when you could have, and whether or not they would have received it or not. So they've now found somebody. You are their friend. You need to support them if you really are their friend.
Yeah.
That's how I weigh in on
I
that
hear
one.
that. I hear
It's
that. I think
School of Hard Knocks over here in Manhattan on this one.
Yeah, I have so much more to say. Maybe we could talk about it on Monday.
We can continue it with our co-host
No.
Jeremy.
Oh
What
yeah,
we
let's do
love-
that.
Yes, but we only got 2 minutes here, and it's straight up gay porns. Out of these 14 gay porn stars, who took the best photo? I'll post this on TAGSPodcast.com. Who got your fancy and why?
There were so many good ones. I like Brock Banks. I like so many. But my pick is Hillary Cruz and Raheem Shabazz.
You love a duo.
You know I love a duo, mama. Okay. But they're standing in front of a window. They're completely naked. They've got on Haruri. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I will DM him because he's fucking gorgeous. He's got on like a do-rag and a necklace, but otherwise they're both completely naked, and they have these huge cocks. They've got a beautiful scenery of a blue sky and what looks like tropicalness behind them, and it's just my favorite this week because they're both
okay. Mine goes to Brock Banks, who I think it's all about angle. I don't know how tall Brock is, but he doesn't seem that tall.
He's like 5'6".
Yeah, right. But if you shoot upward, you look really big, and he's got a beautiful hairy chest. He's looking come hither. He looks like he is in a workroom in some back room, which is really good. His muscles look amazing. And speaking of girth, like Dr. Injector Chris has stated he has nice girth when he is flaccid, and that is the reason I pick him. Oh my gosh.
That's Boomer Banks', he is like Boomer Banks' house child.
Okay, wow. Like it's I love that
The
I
House
have
of
house
Banks.
styles now. Doug
Yeah.
says Tanner Valentino gets his pick. Oh my gosh. Thank you to our special guest, once again, Dr. Chris Bustamante, Injector Chris. Go to Lushful Aesthetics to find out more about the procedures. Follow my co-host on the gram at Mr. Maurice, or also on Blue Sky. Follow me on the gram, I am_. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. Thanks, everyone.